New Jersey's decades-old ban on assault weapons and a more recent law banning large-capacity magazines are back in the legal spotlight today, with oral arguments underway before the full Third Circuit Court of Appeals. It's a major test of the state's gun laws being challenged by gun rights activists who say the restrictions violate the Second Amendment. The DOJ, though, I don't have to tell you, has also filed a brief against your position in this case. What's your response to their stance that AR-15s, high-capacity magazines, bans on those are protected under the Second Amendment?
Well, I think the clear history of this country, and that's why every court that's considered this has agreed with us, is that they're wrong. And for centuries, we have regulated unusually dangerous weapons. Assault weapons are undeniably unusually dangerous weapons. They are disproportionately the weapons used in mass shootings.
Yep, things are getting a little spicy, and that's good. Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC. P.A.N. Firearms for NRA certification and multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfirearmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box below. And if you like channel-like content, what I do, you can support the link. Everything's appreciated. Online store is open. CGB20 will get you 20% off free shipping. Connecticut residents, you got to pay that sales tax. But CGB20 will get you 20% off. Let's talk about this. And there is a whole lot going on and two big moves in the pro-gun category. The Department of Justice has filed an amicus brief with the Third Circuit Court of Appeals to overturn New Jersey's ban on assault weapons, or so-called assault weapons, and magazines over 10 rounds. This is a huge deal. Now, if you remember, a Philadelphia-based appeals court with a George W. Bush appointee said that yes, the ban on assault weapons is unconstitutional, but it only applies to the call AR-15 because that's all that's listed in the complaint. And well, I'm going to uphold the 10-round magazine rule. This is now going to the Third Circuit, and the DOJ is jumping in. Of course, this is reflective of Trump's February executive order, where he stated he was going to defend the Second Amendment, and P.A.N. Bondi in April coming out and plainly saying we're going to safeguard Second Amendment rights. Well, they're starting to step up, and this is a good deal. So I'm just going to briefly show this here. DOJ, the appeals court, strike down New Jersey gun bans. Department of Justice filed an amicus brief Thursday with the U.S. Third Circuit Court of Appeals, urging the full court to strike down New Jersey's ban on AR-15 style rifles and magazines holding more than 10 rounds, arguing the categorical prohibition violate the Second Amendment, which it does, of course. As I stated, a 2-1 panel of the Philly-based appeals court ruled last week that a lower court judge erred in striking down the state's restriction under the Supreme Court's 2022 Bruin decision, which is an interesting statement. That landmark ruling should reshape gun laws nationwide by requiring any firearm regulation to be consistent. We know what it is, but be consistent with the nation's historical tradition, reinforcing that the Second Amendment is not a second-class right. But I'm going to go ahead and come down to here. Although regulations consistent with that tradition might be permissible, the DOJ argued complete bans on overwhelmingly popular rifles and magazines holding more than 10 rounds are unconstitutional. The brief also contended the right extends to magazines and other accessories that make constitutionally protected firearms useful for individual and common defense. Banning magazines that hold more than 10 rounds limits the ability of that firearm. It would be like going all the way back to the forming of the Constitution and telling them you can have a musket, but you can't have the gunpowder. Same thing. Okay. The filing came amid consolidated appeals challenging New Jersey's 1990 assault firearms law and its 10-round magazine limit in July 2024. And this is the judge here, Judge Peter Sheridan, who ruled for New Jersey gun owners in part holding the state's ban unconstitutional as it applied to the Colt AR-15, while limiting his ruling to that model based on the record before him. And then he upheld the 10-round magazine ban. The DOJ jumping in on this case is a huge deal. Now I hope the DOJ jumps in the case here in Connecticut, Grant versus Lamont. And there's another one. I wish I could remember it, but there's another case also. I hope the DOJ files amicus with those cases also, because we need their backing. Now, Third Circuit Court of Appeals is a liberal court. Do you think the DOJ is going to have any weight in this? No, but it's going to keep moving forward. As I've said over and over again, I'd like to see one of these assault weapon ban cases get to the Supreme Court and we finally get a decision on it. But I'm going to bring you into this other story, which is now another big deal. But the Attorney General of Montana, along with 27 other state attorney generals and legislatures, are appealing to the Supreme Court to strike down a firearm magazine ban. They're going straight to the Supreme Court to get a ruling on this. And this is some big news once again. And this is all being filed in reference to Washington State's ban on magazines over 10 rounds. It's Gator Guns Custom Inc. versus Washington State. This is huge again. Once again, you have a number of states, more than half, all going to the Supreme Court saying, we want you to overturn this in Washington. Now, as I said, this is positive news for gun owners, but if your state has an individual law, as we do here in Connecticut, this has very little effect on you. The only thing we can do after that is to file suit based on the ruling if the Supreme Court overturns it. But watching the federal government step in and put its foot down and say, this is unconstitutional, we want you to overturn it, is a huge deal. We're going to find out how much influence this is going to have over the courts. Well, the Supreme Court's leaning in our favor. Third Circuit, not so much. But this is a big deal. So this is good news coming forward for all of us. But just let me warn you, as I've said before in the past, as the courts start to overturn these bans on magazines and so-called assault weapons, expect certain states to preempt that by passing more draconian laws in lieu of that. Expect it to happen, because I fully do. But let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you're notified the next time a video goes live. I'm going to see you on the next one. Peace.